Hello and welcome back my friends. I will rate each song of the Metallica Studio Albums with a score between 1 to 5. 1 is bad, 3 is okay, and 5 is great. Every album receives an arithmetic average score. The rating is done according to my current opinion, not according to my memory or feeling. In the past, a song might have gotten a different grade than it does now. The worst Lulu album with Lou Reed is not included. Use the comment function and tell me what is your personal favorite album. Let's start with the 10th and last place. Last place for Saint Anger with a score of 2.82. Well, first, Saint Anger is not as bad as the hate it receives in the year it came out. This album is a mess of average songwriting, no solo guitar lines, and very poor sound production. However, there are some genuine moments where the album shines and it's raw and heavy as hell. There is no doubt that the album has trouble competing with Metallica's legendary discography, especially the first 5 albums. But this album is a unique album on its own. So if you are in right mood, then it rocks. If not, then not. Top tracks: Saint Anger, Some Kind of Monster, The Unnamed Feeling and All Within My Hands. 9th place with a score of 3.23 is the album Reload. With the Reload it was like with the album Load. Both did not please me at the beginning. They kicked the speed or trash metal into the garbage bin. Just like Load, it's more or less heavy rock with some blues attitude. The Unforgiven too, however, I liked immediately. After several times I find the whole album quite okay. Not as good as Load, but entertaining. The introduction with Fuel is a good heavy opening track. I find also The Memory Remains with Marianne Faithfull in the background quite well and is one of my favorite live songs. The last song Fixxxa gives the whole thing a great conclusion and is for me one of the best songs on the CD. Maybe it is because of my age that I now also like the quieter things of Metallica. I also like Low Man's lyric, period. It does not belong to the top albums for me, but is heard again and again with pleasure. Top tracks: The Memory Remains, The Unforgiven 2, Fuel, Low Man's lyric and Fixxxa. Death Magnetic is 8th place with a score of 3.6. First, the songs are all well written, way better than on Saint Anger. It is also mixed, and we have Kirk's solo guitar back again. But Metallica doesn't seem to be Metallica without once again making mistakes in the mixing. Loudness war reigns. The album is mixed too loud in my opinion. If you listen to the songs you can hear how they have this typical scratchy overdrive even on low setting, and always in the same places. Unfortunately, I find this too loud and a bit too exhausting. Don't get me wrong, the songs are still good and fun. You just have to know what you're getting here, especially when you shouldn't know that Metallica often makes questionable decisions for an album release. But this is only my own ear. Who has no or hardly any problems with it gets here again. A Metallica album what purely bangs. Top tracks: The Day That Never Comes, All Nightmare Long and That Was Just Your Life. 7th place for Load, score 3.64. Load is undervalued, no question about it. Why is that? The thing is not as heavy as the first 4 albums that made Metallica the most commercially successful metal band in the world. But after turning down the tempo with the previous studio album Metallica also called Black Album, what else could happen? Load have opened up to all styles of US rock, from blues to country. Yes, country. In addition, there are also straight rock metal numbers like Ain't My Bitch or King Nothing. The grooves are there, the compelling riffs, the complex arrangements, the outlaw thorn for example, just everything that made Metallica after the phase of the 4 blood young metalheads of the first 3 albums. Load is music to listen to, which can only be celebrated when you have taken the trouble to want to understand it. A sing-along song like Seek and Destroy, which invites to the next beer, is not found, but that doesn't matter. Top tracks: The Outlaw Thorn, Until It Sleeps, Ain't My Bitch, King Nothing, Thorn Within. 6th place with the evil score of 3.666, The Number of the Beast, Hardwired to Self-Destruct. The title I find rather mediocre and also the cover wins certainly no beauty or innovation prize. But in the end it's all about the music, and the first 6 songs on the first CD fully convinced me and let expect great things. But when listening to the whole album for the first time, the second CD with the last 6 tracks turns out to a bit boring and exhausting. Only, Here Comes Revenge, I find quite as good as the first songs. If the last songs were better, the album ranking would be definitely higher. Also, just like the mixing of Death Magnetic, its loudness war reigns again. Even if I have not liked all the songs 100%, so I still have heard nothing that I would dub as a gap filler. Hardwired is a successful album through the bank, where I personally liked the first CD a tad better. Top tracks: the first 6. 5th place goes to Kill 'Em All. What a great debut album. I was incredibly impressed by the energy and joy of playing Hit the Lights, The Four Horsemen, Motor Breath and Jump in the Fire. 4 bangers right at the beginning of the record. I just thought, now it can only get worse. But it was not. Through and through thrash speed metal at the highest level with one of my favorite Metallica track, Seek and Destroy. Only Metal Militia and Anesthesia Pulling Teeth could not inspire me. Anyway, pure energy, thrash at its finest. Influences of the new wave of British heavy metal, punk and Motorhead clearly present. Cliff Burton's influences are of course also unmistakable here. Only 5th place because of the outstanding 4 other albums. 4th place with 4.0 score belongs to And Justice for All. In 1988 the 4th studio album of the Bay Area Thrashers was recorded in the lineup James Hetfield, Kirk Hammett, Lars Ulrich and, after Cliff Burton's tragic death, for the first time Jason Newsted on bass. I'm not going into the non-existence of Jason's bass line now. Others have already done that on my first MC in the Sony Walkman back then. I didn't have much bass anyway. The songs are very complex and demanding. You won't find simple metal tracks here. None of the songs has less than 5 minutes playing time, which speaks for very ambitious and complex compositions. The art is not to let such long tracks appear boring, and the band have realized this perfectly. For friends of sophisticated metal, this album is a listening pleasure. It only would be better with more bass. Top tracks, all. 3rd place goes to Metallica, the Black Album with a 4.16 score. Exit Light, Enter Night, Take My Hand, We're Off to Never Never Land. The rest is history. I heard the first bars of Enter Sandman when I was in the army and the video was on MTV. 1991 was an outstanding year of music for me. Metallica, Nirvana's Nevermind and Guns N' Roses' Use Your Illusions albums. Through the somewhat more straightforward songs, the band was also able to tap into new fan bases outside of the metal scene. From the point of view of not a few true metal fans, however, the album marks a step in the wrong direction for these very reasons and is therefore quite controversial today. Anyway, a masterpiece period. Top tracks, too many to write them all down. 1st place, many argue which is now the best Metallica album of all time, Master of Puppets or Ride the Lightning. Both have the same score of 4.25, so both get the award, Best Album. From me, Ride the Lightning is a very big step from the very simple Kill 'Em All. Ride the Lightning was released in 1984 as Metallica's 2nd album, and Master of Puppets puts the crown on everything then in 1986. Sometimes I prefer to listen to one album or the other, depending on the mood of the day, but those are the 2 albums I listened to the most. Both albums have no filler tracks at all tracks legendary. So guys, for whom the bell tolls, time marches on. Thank you for watching. This list will be updated when 72 seasons hit the shelves in April. Peace.